Just fucking do it. Subscribe now. And no matter how many quotes you get, doesn't matter. The castle premium, or the driveway length premium is what it really is, because they connote length of the driveway with how many acres you should have and blah, blah, blah. And so when it gets cold like this, I think back, and of course I didn't tell my family any of that, and then because the kids couldn't take a bath because they were great with not taking a bath. I mean, you don't have to, if the kids don't have to take a bath, they think that's cool. And so so now it's about 5 below 0 centigrade, but whether it snows or not. But you can, in this part of the country, get snowed in. I mean, where the snow in the roads are like this, and it hasn't happened since Amazon's been around delivering, like they deliver daily or whatever. And I'm curious if Amazon still makes deliveries. I'm not hoping that it snows, 10 feet, but any questions? Okay, who's going to give us a presentation? There's a number of you ready, so I know one of the groups skipped to the big cases, but we're not going to miss your little cases. So don't think just because you skipped to the big cases that we're going to miss all the little cases, because there is some method to my madness that some of you are presenting cases that didn't go through. Some of you are presenting cases that did go through. We're going to get through all those what ifs, buts, etc., and then we're going to start on your ideas of the big cases, which you all have. So now, who's ready to go up? There's this. Okay. Yeah. Now, not today, but now.
Yeah. So this is.
Have to speak up, please.
Yeah. This is a healthcare deal we are looking into right now. So we are
in the fatherland.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we are in.
That's Germany for you that don't understand that, but go ahead.
So we are in the due diligence phase right now. Yeah, this is a pretty special case because it has a small problem, but also an opportunity in it. This will be our first deal following the QLA model.
Okay.
Yeah. So the numbers aren't that great. It is run by a woman, and it used to be run by her and her husband. Her husband.
And let me guess, they hate each other.
They hate each other. They.
Let me just stop a second and let me pontificate. Let me get up on my soapbox here. I told you in the first seminar, almost everybody gets married for the wrong reasons. Okay, almost everybody has kids for the wrong reasons. Okay, almost everybody stays together for the wrong reasons, and that's normally because of the kids. That's the excuse they use. But the kids not always, but almost always know that their parents are unhappy. So it's not unusual that a lot of the things that you're going to look at, these acquisition candidates, are because there's unhappiness in the marriage. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, so the husband left the business about 15 years ago. They had a lot of savings in the business, but he gambled them. He is also an alcoholic, and he's
a typical husband.
Psychically,
a typical husband.
Yeah.
Alcoholic, gambler, bum. Okay.
So the wife has been to court with him several times because he almost destroyed the business, but she's been running the business ever since, and it was pretty good until a couple of years ago, and she is. The wife, the actual owner of the business, is completely burned out right now. So she cannot do very much. She wanted to exit the business, but she didn't have a plan. So we came and offered her a solution, and she's very, very motivated to sell.
Mm-hmm.
She, the problem we have in this deal is that there is pension for the husband a lifetime pension, which the business should start paying in August 2023, as he reached his age.
Sir, question: what type of business is this?
A healthcare business.
Home health business?
Yeah.
Copy. Thank you.
The wife, she saved about $1 million. This is why
Euros?
Euros. Sorry.
This is the million you're flipping your wife for. Okay, gotcha.
She saved $1 million, and the calculated liability of the company would be about 600,000 euros. Yeah. So our idea was to pay her 400,000 euros for the business, and in a 50% sellers financing, in a share deal. Yeah.
So we looked at that and said that we shouldn't do a share deal. We don't want to be exposed to any risk with this liability of 600,000 euros.
So our team made a recommendation of two options, starting with the owner keeps the cash, we'll buy it for 150K, which is roughly 2 times 2022's EBITDA. The term on the note would have been a 5 or 7 year term, no interest with a linear amortization, so it's just cut into 5 or cut into 7. So that's how it would be done. The debt service coverage we calculated was approximately 4 with that. That's if she wanted to keep the cash. If she wanted us to keep the cash, then we would price it at 500, knowing that we get a little discount on that. And then we'd still use the same structure. This hasn't been pitched to the seller yet. So we don't know if she'll accept it, but from our standpoint, this is the deal that we would pitch.
I said this when I was with you separately yesterday. Just with the information, you gave me a little more information when I was up there, but what would normally a professional, not like these guys, would look at that and they'd walk away. It's got too much hair, okay? But if they really wanted this for whatever reason, then you'd look at, and there are ways of separating pension liabilities away from companies. Okay, so that pension liability that would be separated, but the pension liability is for $1 million or 600,000 or 400,000. What's the actual pension liability that he's going to start collecting in this coming summer?
4,000 euro a month.
Okay, for life.
For life.
Well, first of all, and that will be applied to the 600 or the 400 or the total million?
To the total million.
Okay, well, I don't think that's enough money. How old is he?
64.
So he's going to live 10, maybe years longer if he doesn't drink himself to death. Okay, so that's 50 grand a year times 10 years is 500. There's not enough pension money in there to service his pension liability. Did anybody do that calculation? The actuary numbers? Okay, well, see, that makes you have even more leverage. There's not enough money in there, just a minute, to pay him anyway. So, I would try, or I would separate the two so it's 2 different transactions. Fine, but that means that you're not going to get that cash that you want, because if they separate they're going to have to overfund it, so he has enough money to get paid. The good news is if he died between now and the summer, but that's probably not going to happen. People never die when you want them to die; they only die when But anyway, so you had a comment.
Yeah, what we saw is that the revenues are declining and the EBITDA is still growing. That
doesn't make sense. Okay,
that doesn't make sense. That was the first thing. So I think the first conclusion was to shit can the deal.
Yeah.
But if you want to do the deal, it 100% has to be an asset deal because we don't want all these liabilities. We don't want these problems the wife and the husband created with each other. So we said an asset deal where we buy the company for about 150K just for the assets. All the rest should stay with the wife would be the only way it makes sense. But even then, I think it has to be looked into detail if the numbers stack up, because I don't think they do, but I don't have a lot of them.
Okay, these aren't audited numbers, right? No, these are just a quick book or something.
Yes, from her accountant.
So, okay, well, that doesn't mean anything. Remember, and they're not Asian, they're German, right?
They're German, yeah.
Well, yeah. You know, in certain parts of the world, it's an honor to lie for you. Yeah, comment back there.
I was just going to ask, in Germany, what's the average EBITDA margin for home healthcare? Because this is pretty low, right? This is like 9%, 12 at its max, 2021?
Yes, well, it depends. It's about around 2 to 5. It depends on the numbers.
Wait, 2 to 5%?
2 to 5 times EBITDA, or
Oh, no, but like the margins.
the margins. It depends widely. I have variety between 5% to 30%.
Okay, well, we obviously want to buy the 30%. Remember, I said the margins we look for are between 20 and 40%. Okay, that's gross margin. So that means, roughly speaking, you're going to be netting net margin about half, more or less. And again, we want those big margins because you are going to mismanage, not on purpose, but you're going to mismanage. And so just because they were able to operate at a certain margin the last year, whether it was in COVID or not COVID, the odds are you're not going to be able to manage that. Okay, it's going to take you a while to figure these out. And for a couple of guys that have done a number of deals, I mean, you're a better manager today after 10 deals than you were after the first deal. I mean, you just learn. And unfortunately, it's like on-the-job training. You know, you're building the scar tissue up because of the mistakes that have been made by you with the best intention. Even when the sellers stay on 3, 6, 9, 12 months, they're still, unless they're tied to the future profits in some sort of earnout, they're not going to be as diligent. If they used to come to work at 7:30, they're not going to come to work at 7:30. They're going to come to work at 9:30. If they used to work till 6 or 7, now they're going to work till 4 or 5. And that's unless they're incentivized. You know, money talks and bullshit walks. But he's married to the idea of the cash that's there. And there are going to be a lot of deals that there's some element that you fall in love with, so to speak, and you'll stretch. And quite often it's a bridge too far. You stretch, you make assumptions that aren't realistic. And of course, that's what your board is supposed to be there for. Maybe there's a 1 in 5 chance of you being able to do that. Well, we don't buy companies on a 1 in 5 chance. We buy companies on a 4 in 5 chance or a 5 in 5 chance. And that's why all the purchases should be based on historical numbers, because you've seen it. And since the historical numbers you're going to be looking at are at least 1 or 2 years in the Corona era, if they could do this during the Corona era, then you should be able to do it outside the Corona era. That's not always true, but that's one of the benchmarks. Other comments, questions? Yes, sir.
I would definitely do an asset deal on this one, but instead of overfinancing it from a bank, she has cash. So I would ask her to loan me the cash, because she would get as good as interest rate as the bank would give her for keeping that cash in a bank account. And it's better to get a loan from anybody than a bank.
Yes, well, I tried to do this, but she wants to get rid of the business. This is the only thing she wants. She has money, so this is not a problem for her. She doesn't quite care about the money.
Okay, remember, we don't care what they want. I mean, how many fucking times do I have to say this? And when he was in the regular seminar, he sounded like fucking Hitler or Herman Goering or something. And now he's a cunt. Because you all are. You can't get rid of that vagina. You just can't do it. All the bullshit. I should go back and bring up the films. He was like Goebbels. The final solution. And now he sits there like a fucking wet cunt. We don't care what they want. How many times do I have to say this? Forget that $1 million, go sell your wife to somebody else. This deal's not worth doing. Forget about it. Shit can it. Next. And I don't even want to know how long you fucked with it. I asked you that before. You said, well, I didn't fuck with it so long. Well, if you fuck with it more than an hour, you fuck with it too long. What about what I just said don't you understand? Now, everybody's got a little, except the gals, got a little wuss in them. Some of you got a lot of wuss in you. And that vagina flaps in the wind. And it's hard for a woman to pee into the wind. I won't say it's impossible, but it's hard. But you guys, somehow you find a way. I don't know exactly how you do it. You got to bend your hips. I'm not sure how you do it. But you piss into the goddamn wind. You're wasting your fucking time. Other comments about this, but I pass on it. But yes, ma'am.
If you were going to go on with this, what do you need to meet in the company for the man doctor?
Well, I would separate, and there is a way to separate the pension liability. Normally it's not for one guy, but there is a way to separate that pension liability. If it's an asset deal, that liability, remember, asset deal, you're not responsible for the past, the present, or the future liabilities. Okay? So, and an asset deal, that pension liability would stay with her, whether she likes it or not. That's just tough shit, lady. You should have settled this shit 10, 12 years ago. That's it. Adios. A lot of the deals, the kids, when I say kids, I'm talking about this group and the groups that have been here before you, you try too hard. How many home health care are there in your part of Germany?
About 3,000.
Next. It's not worth it. And again, as T. Boone Pickens told me 40 years ago, God rest his soul, Danny, if you want to do a deal bad enough, you'll do a bad deal. Not everybody's first deal is a bad deal, but you're certainly, by the time you get to the 5th and the 10th and the 15th deal, you're a lot wiser and you're less likely to put up with the bullshit. And it exacerbates the problem because quite often this woman is a nice gal. You think she deserves better. Well, as soon as you start thinking like that, you're fucked. It's like Adele felt sorry for the lady, yada, yada, and then she steals from the patient. I think that's rich. That's beautiful, And Costa Grazos, many decades ago, says, Mr. Peña, no good deed goes unpunished. And his example he used, we started the Greek Airlines, okay? And the Greek Airlines, we wound up giving back to the government because we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. This building we were sitting in at the time, the NASA's building, he says it's only 40% filled because we don't know how to rent the fucking office space. In the middle of Manhattan, we can't even fill up a goddamn building. And he went on, every time we think about diversifying or trying to help somebody out, we get fucked. He never used those kind of words, but we wound up wishing that we hadn't done that. And this is just one example. It's one example. You just, the lady, you can tell her as nice as you want to tell her, but it just doesn't work out for us. We can't make up. Remember, most of these people have two goals in life. One, they're trying to get rich off one transaction. She's already got money, he says. So she's not trying to get rich off one transaction, but she's trying to get rid of her fucking husband liability with one transaction. And that's the same. That's the same. So I'll be the same. That's it. Any other comments about him? Yes, sir.
I think that's a really good example of emotional involvement. So if you get emotionally involved into a deal, then you make bad decisions or potential bad decisions. So I think probably the first deal, you will all encounter something similar and you just find a way or try to find a way how to do it, but you cannot argue about a deal like that. So
Yeah. And and beyond that is, how did EBITDA go up? There's a lot of questions. And, now when I was running and gunning and doing this, I used to be criticized that I missed out on good deals. Now, maybe of the 1,000 deals that I missed, I looked at, and I only did 30 or 40, I might have missed out on one or two. So what? None of those one or two deals, this is not going to make you rich. And it'll probably make you unrich, if that's not a word, unrich. So it's easier just to move on. It's emotional. Remember, this is an emotional roller coaster. We got two bank accounts in life. We got an emotional, and we've got the financial. And it's the mistakes that we make. The numbers don't lie, but the mistakes we make are based on your emotions. On your emotions. And that's just, and it's, how you were raised and all that stuff. I don't need to beat to death again. But apparently I do have to beat it to death because for 29 and a half, almost 30 years, the kids, you continue. I mean, you can't fight your DNA. You just can't. The biggest asshole that ever came through this seminar, and we've had a few, hard, prick, I mean, really obnoxious, had an underbelly, had an Achilles heel. The roughest, toughest person we ever had go through here, they have an Achilles heel. Their grandmother took care of them when their parents, threw them under the bus, not literally. It's like that girl that got thrown in the fireplace. I mean, fuck, her baggage is, if I were her, unfortunately, my baggage couldn't fill up this fucking room. I'd be a resentful motherfucker, boy. It's beyond revenge, Anything else? Yes, sir.
Suppose she accepts an asset deal and better terms. Does it change something?
Well, when he walks away, her attitude's going to change. How much I'd have to see. I could look at her in 5 seconds and tell you what's going to happen. Just like I can smell death. I can smell, just like I can see fear. But I've been doing this a long time, and I've done it thousands and thousands of times. I've gone to deals where I'm going to visit the seller. We walk in, and I don't even shake hands with you. I say, "I'm sorry to waste your time, sir." And I walk out. That's how sure I am. Auf Wiedersehen. And this is before, it has nothing to do with Corona when you're going with your elbow. I'm sorry to waste your time, sir. Let's go to the airport. I know. And sometimes the meeting doesn't take place because I ask permission to talk to the employees the day before, blah, 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 blah. And 2 drinks into my meeting with the employees, this was a big fucking mistake. That's why I don't understand how kids during Corona bought businesses without seeing them. Andres Milner went to every single acquisition he made during Corona. Simon Voss went to every acquisition because there's things that you can tell that you can't tell on a Zoom call. And, and I remember one time in Midland, Texas, I left $500. We were going to have dinner. We had one drink. I left $500 with the manager of the restaurant. Say, they can drink and eat all they want, but I'm leaving. Didn't even sit down with them. I just started to calculate how much time is it going to take from somebody, not me, to turn this shit around. Fuck, forget about it. I just left. Now everybody in this room would sit down there and finger fuck with them and And what did you accomplish? Nothing. The shorter the sales process, the only control you have other than a seller finance over the sales process is how much time you spend with these pricks. That's the only thing you can't control, no matter how much you yell at the bank. And you guys aren't going to yell at the banks like I do. You may nudge them or probably try to push them, but the banks, they won't say it like this, fuck you, but they'll just continue on their merry way. So the only thing you can control is the time you spend with these assholes. And I missed deals, and I bought deals that I shouldn't have, okay? But we got a lot of deals at the end of a career. I did arguably the deals I should have done, although I missed some. And I would not recommend you walk in and you look around and say, and go back to the airport, because you're not savvy enough. But and your board members who might be savvy enough won't want to stick their neck out by saying, "I think we made a mistake here. We should go back to the airport." They're not likely to do that for all the obvious reasons. But you've got to remember that most of the deals that you're going to, even the ones that you go to look at and are considering an LOI, don't make sense. Because there's something, that's why due diligence is a euphemism for knocking the price down. And I told you during the regular seminar, and some of you, this happened before any of you came to the seminar, only one time in now 51 and a half years has the price ever gone up after due diligence. One time, and that was because a rich guy in Newport Beach that was selling his substance abuse center, his accountant of 25 or 30 years, had kept all the books for all his companies. And he had made a mistake 18, 20 years ago. So revenue streams that should have gone to this substance abuse went someplace else. So when they did the due diligence, the company was worth $1 million or $1.5 million more. But to his credit, he says, well, I led you astray. I'll still sell it for the same price. Now, I wouldn't have done that myself, but he was more or less super wealthy. And this was just a pain in the butt to him, having this substance abuse. And almost all substance abuse are run by ex-heroin addicts, drunks, because it's a safe place for them to be. Any other questions or comments? Do you understand what we're saying? I know that you're in love with the cash, but you can do better than this. Okay, very good. Thank you.